Recorded naman. Okay, yung session natin for today is just actually a continuation ng ating 6 trigonometric functions last time. So this is already part 2. And then actually, meron pa tayong part 3 and part 4 na kasunod ng trigonometric functions bago tayo mag-proceed sa oblique triangles. Okay, so let's proceed. In order to start, i-review mo muna natin or i-recall ang ating 6 trigonometric functions. Last time, I've told you and discussed to you the 6 trigonometric functions. Yung una, ito yung sine of any angle is always equal to opposite over hypotenuse. For the second one, we have the cosine of any angle adjacent over hypotenuse ang kanyang value. And then for the third one, tangent of any angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. So dapat lagi mong tinatandaan ng mga yan, anak. And then let us proceed to the fourth one. Cosecant of any angle is equal to hypotenuse over opposite. Panglima, the secant of any angle is always equal to hypotenuse over adjacent. And then for the next one, we have cotangent of any angle always equal to its adjacent over hypotenuse. Paano natin malalaman kung opposite or hypotenuse or adjacent ang isang side? Depende yan kung ano yung pipiliin nating reference angle gamit ang right triangle. I repeat, ang 6 trigonometric functions applicable lang sa right triangle and accompanied by sum of angle formula including the Pythagorean Theorem. So let's proceed. Tingnan natin yung mga kasunod pang tatalakayin natin sa ating mga slides. For the next slide, we have to recall also the Pythagorean Theorem. Tandaan natin na ang formula na ginagamit natin sa Pythagorean Theorem is always c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Ang square ng c or the hypotenuse side is always equal to the sum of squares ng mga legs. A and B are both legs of the given right triangle or any right triangle. Kapag inad natin ang mga squares ng legs, equal yan sa square ng hypotenuse ng ating right triangle. Siyempre, ito yung ating right triangle. Ang C, ito yung hypotenuse. Kapag in-square natin yan, equal automatic yan sa square ng dalawang leg ng A at saka ng B. Kapag ang inaanap natin ay ang value ng C, all we have to do with this given equation is just to take the square root of both sides. Kung saan mag-a-arrive tayo sa formula na C is equal to the square root of A square plus B square. And when solving for B, ibibigay ko na yung formula na kailangan nating ma-recall. B is equal to the square root of C square minus A square. So, laging mo lang tinatandaan ng mga yan, anak, no? And then, to solve for A, formula, A is equal to the square root of C square minus B square. So, yan yung tatlong formula na ating gagamitin kapag dealing tayo sa trigonometric functions or finding the other 5 trigonometric functions of the given function. Kumbaga dito, anak, magbibigay ako ng isang trigonometric function at ang kanyang value. And then the rest, the other 5 trigonometric functions, hahanapin natin. Kailangan na alam nating i-list ang other 5 remaining trigonometric functions of a given trigonometric function. So let's proceed. For our first slide, recall again, what if a reference angle is theta, the angle theta? So kailangan hindi mo kinakalimutan, anak, na pumili ng reference angle. Sa pagkakataong ito ang pipiliin nating reference angle, gagamitin natin yung symbol na theta. which will represent our angle or the angle of our given right triangle. Kung ito yung ating right triangle, sabi dito, ang reference angle natin ay ang theta. So yan ngayon ang ating reference angle. Ang reference angle kasi ang makakatulong natin para ma-define natin ang bawat side ng right triangle kung ano ang function ng bawat side. Halimbawa, ang side C. Ano ba ang magiging function ng side C kapag ang reference angle natin is theta? Definitely side C is our hypotenuse. And then ang side A, dahil yan ang kasalungat ng angle theta, definitely yan ang ating opposite. And then the last side is our adjacent. So na-define na natin ang bawat side, kung ano ang function ng bawat side. Dahil nakadepende ang mga yan kung ano yung pinili nating reference angle. Wherein sa pagkakataong ito, ang pinili nating reference angle is the angle theta. Now, we go back to the trigonometric function. Sine of any angle is opposite over hypotenuse. So, ang opposite is A, ang hypotenuse is C. And the angle natin is represented by theta. That is why sine of theta is equal to A over C. Dahil nga opposite over hypotenuse tayo, kaya A over C yan. Ngayon, huwag nating kakalimutan na ang inverse o reciprocal ng sine theta is actually cosecant theta. The cosecant of theta is always C over A. Yan. So, nakadalawa na tayo. Now, let us proceed to cosine of any angle. The cosine of any angle is always equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So, cosine of theta is B over C. Ang reciprocal naman ng cosine theta is actually 1 over secant theta. Kaya nga ang value ng secant theta natin ngayon is simply just the inverse of B over C. Hanapan lang natin ang reciprocal ng B over C. That is why secant theta is C over B. And then, let us proceed to the fifth and last trigonometric function. By using the tangent of any angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. Ang opposite natin is A, ang adjacent natin is B. That is why tangent of theta is A over B. At ang cotangent of theta naman natin or cotangent ng angle theta natin is simply just the reciprocal of A over B. That's why cotangent theta is equal to B over A. Now, kumpleto na ang ating 6 trigonometric functions when a reference angle is angle theta. Na-recall na natin ang ating napag-aralan last time. Now, I have prepared 3 situations para lubusan mong maintindihan, anak, kung paano ba ang pag-aanap ng iba pang mga trigonometric functions kapag ibinigay ang isang given na trigonometric function. Halimbawa, for our problem number 1, ang ibinigay na problem, secant theta is equal to 5 over 4. Ano yung problem dito? Ipinapaanap ang 5 pang trigonometric functions na kailangan nating ma-determine. Dahil ang given is secant theta, ano ang value ng sine theta? Ano ang value ng cosine theta, ng tangent theta, ng cosecant theta, at ng cotangent theta? So we need to look for the other 5 trigonometric functions of our given function, secant theta is equals to 5 over 4. So, the first step na kailangan nating gawin is i-define muna natin ang ibig sabihin ng secant theta. Ano nga ba ang ibig sabihin ng secant theta? The secant of any angle is hypotenuse over adjacent. Ang ibig sabihin niya, anak, ang hypotenuse natin is 5, ang adjacent naman natin is 4. Since alam na natin ang definition ng secant of any angle, mag-drawing muna tayo ng right triangle. And here it is. Saan ko ipoposisyon ngayon ang theta? Definitely ang theta, yan ang ating reference angle. Siyempre, dalawa lang ang pagpipilian ko. Dito o sa baba, yung isang corner. Assuming dito ko nilagay o ipinoposisyon ang ating theta, now theta now is a reference angle. Yan. So dito ko pinosisyon ang theta sa corner na yan. Dalawa lang ang pagpipilian dito o sa taas. Ito kasi 90 degrees yan, hindi pwede yan. Right angle yan. So dito ko ipinosisyon ang ating theta na kung saan yan ang ating reference angle. At dahil may reference angle na tayo, pwede na nating lagyan ng pangalan ng bawat side. Kung ito ang ating reference angle, definitely ito yung opposite. Ipagpalagay na lang natin na ang ating opposite is A at ang A value is unknown. Ginamitan natin ng variable na A ang opposite. At ito naman ang ating adjacent side. Ipinagpalagay na lang natin na ang value ng ating adjacent side, actually hindi pinagpalagay kasi ang value ng adjacent side is 4. So pagpalagay na lang natin na ang variable na gagamitin natin is B. B is equal to 4 for our adjacent side. At ang 5 naman is our hypotenuse. Definitely ito ang ating hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is equal to 5. Now, para tuluyan na nating makalculate ang other 5 trigonometric function, kailangan makumpleto natin ang value ng bawat side. May value ang C, may value ang B, wala naman tayong value ng A. Kung natatandaan mo kanina anak, ipinakita ko sa ating mga slides kung paano ba hanapin ang value ng A using Pythagorean Theorem. Now, we need to solve for A kasi para makumpleto ang bawat side value ng ating right triangle. Now, in order to solve for A, may formula akong ipinakita sa iyo kanina at ito yon. A is equal to the square root of C square minus B square. May value ang C, may value ang B. Ang ibig sabihin yan, direct substitution na lang tayo. A then is equal to 5 square minus 4 square. Kasi nga ang value ng C is 5, kaya 5 square. Minus ang value ng B is 4. That's why 4 square. So A now is equal to the square root of 5 square minus 4 square. Kapag in-square natin ang 5, ang value niya is 25. Kapag in-square naman natin ang 4, ang value niya is 16. So 25 minus 16 is 9. But the square root of 9 is equal to 3. That is why the value of A is 3 meters. That is why ang opposite side natin ay may value na 3 meters. Ngayon, pwede na natin ngayong sagutin at i-list ang ating 5 other trigonometric functions. Unang trigonometric function na ating hinahanap ay ang sine theta. Ang sine of any angle or theta is always equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Ang opposite natin is 3, ang hypotenuse natin is 5. Therefore, sine theta is equal to 3 over 5. For the next function na kailangan natin is cosine of any angle or cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. Ang value ng adjacent is 4. Ang value ng hypotenuse is 5. That is why cosine theta is 4 over 5. So palitan natin yung second, no? Hindi yan second. So let us correct yung nakasulat sa slide. So this is cosine. So let me erase it. Hindi yan second, but cosine of theta. So may typographical error lang konti yung pagkakatype. So correct natin. Next. For the third function na hinahanap natin, the tangent of any angle or tangent theta is always equal to its opposite over its adjacent. Ang value ng opposite is 3. Ang value ng adjacent is 4. That is why tangent theta is equal to 3 over 4. So nakatalo na tayo, dalawa na lang. Ano na lang ang ating inaanap or ang kulang sa ating 5 other trigonometric functions? Actually, we have the cosecant theta and the secant theta. Cosecant theta muna tayo, anak. Cosecant theta is equals to hypotenuse over opposite. Kabaliktaran lang ng sine theta yan. So cosecant theta is 5 over 3. Dahil ang hypotenuse natin is 5 at ang opposite naman natin is 3. na nahanap na natin kanina gamit ang Pythagorean Theorem. Let us proceed then to cotangent theta. May secant theta na pala tayo, no? So we have cosecant theta and cotangent theta. Di na kailangan hanapin ng secant kasi nga may secant na tayo, and that is 5/4. Ang cotangent theta is adjacent over opposite. Ang value ng adjacent is 4. Ang value ng opposite is 3. That is why cotangent theta is equal to 4/3. Yan ang ating unang halimbawa ng pag-aanap ng 5 other trigonometric functions. I repeat, magbibigay lang ako ng function na isa, and then i-define natin yan. And then hahanapin natin ang 5 other trigonometric functions. Now, let us have another try. After ng problem number 1, subukan naman nating hanapan ng 5 other trigonometric function ang ating function na tangent theta is equal to 1. Tangent theta is equal to 1. Paano ba natin hahanapin ang 5 other trigonometric functions? Una sa lahat, ano ba ang definition ng tangent theta? Ang tangent of any angle is always equal to its opposite over adjacent. So, kailangan natin ng numerator and denominator. Opposite over adjacent. Take note, ang 1, pwede kong i-rewrite ng 1 divide by 1 or 1/1. Kasi nga 1/1 is 1 pa rin. Nang sa gayon ay magkaroon tayo ng numerator or opposite over denominator na ito rin yung ating adjacent. So, opposite over adjacent na. 1/1 is still 1. Ang opposite value natin is 1. Ang adjacent value natin is 1. Since meron na tayong value ng opposite and adjacent, and definitely alam na natin ang reference angle natin, that is angle theta, let me draw again a right triangle. Lagi yan, anak. So, nakasanayan na natin na ang theta, lagi nating pinuposisyon sa baba. So, dito na lang tayo magposisyon. But actually, pwede rin sa taas. So, pinosisyon ko dito ang theta, na kung saan yan din ang ating reference angle. Automatic, alam na nating 90 degrees ito eh. Okay, take note of that. At dahil ito ang ating reference angle, kayang-kaya na nating i-define ang bawat side. Ito ang ating opposite, ito ang ating adjacent, at yun naman ang hypotenuse natin. Kasi nga, ito ang ating reference angle. Pero kung dito ko ipinosisyon ng theta sa taas, sa isang corner, ito ang magiging opposite. Ito naman ang magiging adjacent, yung tinuturo ng araw natin. At ito naman ang ating hypotenuse. But since ito ang reference angle natin, ang angle theta natin, ito ngayon ang ating opposite. Ipagpalagay na lang natin na yan ang variable A na may value ng 1. Ang value ng ating opposite is 1 or A is equal to 1. Ang value naman ng ating adjacent, yan ang kadikit ng ating angle theta maliban sa hypotenuse, B is equal to 1. And then the third side, the longest side, is our hypotenuse. Ipagpalagay na lang natin na yan ang side C, which is actually unknown. At dahil unknown ang hypotenuse C or the longest side of the right triangle, definitely kailangan muna nating hanapin yan. Bago tayo magkumpleto or maghanap ng other 5 trigonometric functions, dapat kumpleto yung value ng tatlong side. So para mahanap natin ang value ng C, again, we apply Pythagorean Theorem. So solving for C, just like what I gave you kanina, yung formula ng pag-aanap ng value ng C, C is equal to the square root of A square plus B square. Wherein actually, direct substitution na lang tayo. May value ang A, 1. Ang value ng B is 1. So direct substitution, C is equal to the square root of 1 square plus 1 square. Kapag in-square ko ang 1, 1 pa rin. Kapag in-square ko ang other 1, 1 pa rin. So 1 plus 1 is 2. That is why C is equal to the square root of 2. Since may value na tayo ng C and that is square root of 2, pwede na nating simulan ngayon ang paghahanap ng other 5 trigonometric functions. Naintindihan mo ba, Julius anak, ang lahat ng mga nasambit ko regarding about our lesson? Klaro ba anak? Klaro?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's proceed. So C is equal to the square root of 2. So may value na tayo ng hypotenuse. Let us start first with the sine of theta. Sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Ang value ng opposite is 1. Ang value ng hypotenuse is square root of 2. That's why we have sine theta equals 1 over square root of 2. But, kung papansinin natin ang ating fraction, may radical symbol ang denominator and that is square root of 2. Iniiwasan natin na ang denominator, kinakikitaan natin ng radical symbol. So we need to rationalize. Imumultiply ko ngayon kung ano man ang denominator natin. Okay? Kung ano man ang denominator natin, which is actually square root of 2, gagamitin natin yan as multiplier for both numerator and denominator. Ibig sabihin, ang numerator, imumultiply ko ng square root of 2. Ang denominator, imumultiply ko rin ng square root of 2. Ang denominator, kapag minultiply ko ng square root of 2, imumultiply natin both square root of 2. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4. Ano ba ang square root ng 4? 2. Ibig sabihin, mawawala na yung radical symbol sa baba. So finally, ang value ng ating sine theta is equal to square root of 2 all over 2. Kasi nga 1 times square root of 2, square root of 2 yan. Sa denominator, kapag minultiply ko uli yan ng square root of 2, square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4, but square root of 4 is 2. That is why this is now the value of sine theta, square root of 2 over 2. Now, let's proceed to the second trigonometric function. What if kung ang cosine theta naman ang ating inahanap? Ang cosine ng theta is not opposite over adjacent, anak, no? It is adjacent over hypotenuse. Correct lang natin. So, let me correct it. So, sa taas is adjacent. So, I think correct ko na lang, no? Ita-type ko na lang uli. Discard ko lang siya, no? So, saan na ba tayo dito? Si-correct natin. May typo error. So, this is, adjacent, anak. Hindi yan opposite. ADJ, yan. So, sa baba is hypotenuse. Yan. Okay, that's it. So, na-correct na siya. Okay, and then, from current slide. Yan, parang hindi nakakalito. Yung bura tayo ng bura. So, adjacent over hypotenuse is 1 over square root of 2. Kasi nga, ang adjacent natin is 1. Ang hypotenuse natin is square root of 2. And again, meron na naman ulit yan na radical symbol sa denominator. Nakataon, kamukha lang ng sine theta ang value ng cosine theta. So, if we're going to rationalize it, cosine theta is also square root of 2 over 2. Kamukha lang ng sine theta. Yes, anak? Question? Yes,
recorded
anak.
po.
Yes, anak. Recorded yan.
Recorded po.
Yes, anak.
Pwede mo kasi.
Pwede mo panuorin uli. Okay, let's proceed to the next one.
Opo, sir.
Cosecant theta is hypotenuse over opposite. So dito walang problema. Square root of 2 over 1. But square root of 2 over 1 is also square root of 2. And then for next, secant theta is hypotenuse over adjacent. Ang hypotenuse natin is square root of 2. Ang adjacent natin is 1. That is why secant theta is also square root of 2 over 1. But square root of 2 divided by 1 is still square root of 2. Pwede ko nang alisin yung 1 denominator. Automatic may over 1 naman yan . So secant theta is square root of 2 ang value. And then, how about cotangent theta? Adjacent over opposite. 1 ang adjacent, 1 ang opposite, 1 over 1. But 1 divided by 1 is 1. Cotangent theta, ang value is 1. Now, nakumpleto na natin ang ating other 5 trigonometric functions. Given ang tangent theta is equal to 1. At ito ang other 5 trigonometric functions natin na atin lang nahanap. At yan ang ating problem number 2. Now, let me cite you again another example. How about problem number 3? What if the given is cotangent theta equals 1? Okay. So, ano ba ang cotangent of any angle? I-define muna natin. Adjacent over opposite. Ang 1, pwede kong i-rewrite uli ng 1 over 1. So, cotangent theta is 1 divided by 1. 1 divided by 1 is still 1. So, pareho lang yan. Hindi maapektuhan ang value ng cotangent theta. Kasi nga ang value ng cotangent theta is 1. And 1 over 1 is still 1. Bakit ko ginawa yan? Para ma-determine ang value ng adjacent at opposite. In this case, ang value ng adjacent is 1. Ang value ng opposite is 1. So, pwede na tayong ulit mag-drawing ng right triangle. Again, same scenario, dito ko ipoposisyon ng theta. Kung saan yan din ang ating reference angle. Kailangan laging alam natin kung saan ang ating reference angle nang sa gayon magkaroon ng definition at function ng bawat side or bawat leg ng ating right triangle. Okay. So ito ang ngayon ang ating opposite. Ipagpalagay na lang natin na yan ang side A na may value ng 1. Kasi nga ang opposite is 1. Ito naman ngayon ang ating adjacent. B is equal to 1. Kasi nga ang adjacent value natin is 1. Based from our given na cotangent theta is equal to 1 over 1. And then the third side, which is actually the longest side, is our hypotenuse. Ipagpalagay na lang natin na ginamitan natin yan ng variable c or small letter c, which is actually unknown. And then, kailangan natin ulit hanapin ang value ng longest side or hypotenuse or side C by applying the Pythagorean Theorem since right triangle naman ang ating given. Take note, ang 6 trigonometric functions, applicable yan sa mga right triangles lang and always accompanied by sum of angle formula including the Pythagorean Theorem. And in order to solve for the value of side C, C is equal to the square root of A square plus B square. As our Pythagorean Theorem formula. Since given ang A and B, direct substitution, C is equal to the square root of 1 square plus 1 square. And C is equal to square root of 2. Okay, so let's solve now for the other 5 trigonometric functions. Pwede na nating hanapan ngayon or hanapin ang other 5 trigonometric functions. And to start with, subukan natin sa sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Sine theta is 1 over square root of 2. Ang 1 natin is opposite. And then hypotenuse is square root of 2. So ang value is 1 over 2. Or 1 over square root of 2, I mean, not 2. 1 over square root of 2. So we have to rationalize the denominator. Same kanina. So dahil ang denominator is square root of 2, kailangan nating i-multiply ang both numerator and denominator by square root of 2. That is why sine theta is equal to square root of 2 over 2. Now what if this is square root of 3, no? Yung denominator natin. Kung ito ba? Kung halimbawa yan is square root of 3. Kunwari lang, ano? I-multiply ko ang kabuuan ng equation ng square root of 3 over square root of 3. So, ganoon lang kasimple para mahanap natin ang value na simplified form ng ating sine theta. Okay, so take note of that. So, let's proceed to the next one. The next function natin. What if kung ang pinapahanap is again cosine of theta? Again, let me correct this. This is not opposite over adjacent, ano? This is adjacent sa taas. At opposite naman yung sa baba. So I mean, cosine of theta is adjacent, no, not opposite, hypotenuse yan. Correct ko lang, anak, no? The cosine of any angle is always equal to adjacent or its adjacent over its hypotenuse. Adjacent is 1, hypotenuse is square root of 2. That's why we have cosine theta is equals to 1 over square root of 2. And again, we have to rationalize the denominator. That's why cosine theta is equal to square root of 2/2. So nakadalawa na tayo. Paano naman yung remaining 3? How about cosecant of theta is equals to hypotenuse over opposite? Ang hypotenuse natin is square root of 2, ang opposite natin is 1. That is why we have square root of 2/1. But square root of 2 divided by 1, cosecant theta is equal to square root of 2. So dalawa na lang. Naintindihan ba, Julius anak, ang mga ginagawa natin ngayon? Klaro ba? Klaro ba anak? Hello?
Opo,
Okay, very good.
sir.
Hopefully, naintindihan mo totally anak, no? Kapag may tanong, tanongin mo lang ako after this session.
Panoorin ko po mamaya.
Sige anak, kapag may tanong ka, magtanong ka anak. Para magawa natin ang paraan, no? And then makakope up ka ng gusto and then maintindihan mo ng maigi ang mga konsepto na pinag-aaralan natin regarding about trigonometric functions. Now, secant of theta is hypotenuse over
Opo, sir.
adjacent. Okay, very good. So, ang hypotenuse natin is square root of 2 and adjacent is 1. Secant of theta is equal to square root of 2 and adjacent is 1. So, secant theta is square root of 2/1. Ano nga ba kapag sinimplify natin yung square root of 2/1? Siyempre, square root of 2 na lang. Secant of theta is equal to square root of 2. Next. Tangent theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So, ang opposite is 1. Ang adjacent is 1. So, 1/1 ang ating value ng tangent theta. But 1 divided by 1 is 1 if we're going to simplify this. Tangent of theta, finally, is equal to 1. Kumpleto na ang ating other 5 trigonometric functions. From sine theta is equal to square root of 2/2. Cosine of theta is square root of 2/2. Cosecant of theta is square root of 2. Secant of theta is equal to square root of 2. Tangent of theta is equal to 1. Including our given na cotangent theta is equal to 1. We all have now the 6 trigonometric functions. Okay, may value na ngayon ang other 5 trigonometric functions ng ating given na cotangent theta is equal to 1. So kahit anong itanong, basta inaanap ang 5 other trigonometric function, kailangan i-define muna natin ang ating unang given, ang ating given function, para ma-determine natin kung ano ba yung value ng bawat side. And then hahanapin natin ang third side, which is actually the unknown, by using Pythagorean Theorem. Doon pa lang ang right time na pwede kang maghanap ng other 5 trigonometric functions. Kumpletuin mo muna ang bawat side ng ating right triangle. Klaro ba anak ang ating discussion for today? Klaro ba anak? Okay, Julius?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so next meeting, aaralan natin yung generating functions of spatial angles under pa rin ng right triangles. And then on Sunday, after ng Friday sa Sunday, ang meeting natin is problem solving applications tayo. Para totaling matapos na natin ang ating right triangles including the 6 trigonometric functions. And then may mga existing videos tayo na pwedeng makatulong pa sa iyo. Ang mga PowerPoint na ito anak ay isesend ko rin sa iyo para hindi naman laging pinapanood mo sa YouTube, para nakikita mo rin, para may lecture materials ka rin anak, no? Na pwedeng i-save sa iyong tablet or desktop or laptop. And that's all for today to our session. Hopefully, naintindihan mo lahat ng ating mga natakel ngayong araw na to. God bless you anak and maraming salamat.